Here is another way to think about learning styles. In this session we'll be exploring what the styles are and how you can present information to fit in with the style. The objectives of this session are that at the end of it you'll be able to identify the 3 different learning styles, assess the impact of the learning styles, and evaluate the learning styles model for the mentor. So in this session we're going to look at the VAK learning styles, and VAK stands for visual, auditory and kinesthetic. Let's start with those with a preferred visual learning style. These can be divided into visual linguistic and visual spatial. People with a preference for visual linguistic like to see things written down and find it much easier to remember things if they're written down or if they write them down perhaps in the form of taking notes. Those with a preference for visual spatial visualize easily and remember things in pictures and in their imaginations. So they like to see things to learn and will use visual descriptions when they're telling you about things. People with an auditory learning preference can also be divided into 2 categories. First, there is auditory tonal. These people are concerned with sounds and voices. They're very good at learning by listening and will respond to certain tones of voice, and they'll be interested in what you have to say. Auditory digital, on the other hand, are interested in words. You will often find them talking to themselves, and it's important to them that what you say makes sense, and they'll do a lot of thinking, analysing and rationalising. Kinesthetic learners can also be subdivided. There are those for whom their feelings are very important, and when they're learning they will check their feelings before they accept the learning. As a result, they will often move and talk slower than the other 2 styles. And it's also important to give them more time when you're communicating with them to allow them to check their feelings. Then there are those for whom movement and touch are important. They memorize by doing or walking through something. They respond well to physical rewards and touching, and need physical activity in order to learn. So here is an exercise to help you think about preferred learning styles. Which is your preferred system, and how do you know? How would you communicate more effectively to someone you are mentoring who is a visual, or an auditory, or a kinesthetic, or an auditory digital representational system? Another way that you can connect with people better if you know their learning preference is in the language and the words that you use. You'll find communicating more effective if you fit your language with your client's learning style. This will frequently let you create greater rapport and fit in with your client's way of thinking much more easily. These words are called predicates. So if someone is in visual, they say things like, "I see what you mean." Saying the same thing if they are in auditory, they'll say, "I hear what you're saying." In kinesthetic, they will say, "That feels right to me." And in auditory digital, they will say, "That makes sense to me." So in visual, you can use words like see, appear, that appears right to me, visualize, I can visualize that right now, reveal, that reveals a lot about the situation, imagine, examine, watch, light, dark, brilliant, that's a brilliant idea, and picture, oh, I can picture that now. Whereas in auditory the words will be like hear, listen, sound, that sounds right to me, resonate, that resonates with me, silence, harmony, deaf, that falls on deaf ears, buzz, I get a buzz out of that, accent, shout, ring, that rings true to me. And then we have kinesthetic with words like that feels right, break, you can break the pattern, grasp, I can grasp that, solid, what a solid idea, stress, gentle, seize, rough, push, hard, she's hard to get on with, contact. All these words are to do with emotions and doing things. And finally we have auditory digital, much used in business. With words like consider, let's consider the statement. Think, I think we can achieve that. Understand, I understand the concept. Evaluate, motivate, learn, describe, process, know, connection, memory. These words are all non-sensory words that are logical. Here are some phrases using the different predicates. So in visual you can have, I see what you mean, look back on, pretty as a picture, showing off, clear cut, see to it, a new perspective. Then in order to, there are phrases like, that sounds right to me, that rings a bell, we're singing off the same hymn sheet, I hear you loud and clear, that's unheard of, it's music to my ears, we're all on the same wavelength. And then kinesthetic, there are phrases like, that feels right to me, I'll be in touch, get a grip, jump for joy, warm-hearted, hang on, cool off.